Hi, everybody. It's crazy. It's Monday, and it's the day after Christmas. So I hope you had a safe and happy holiday, and it's time to take off the Santa hat so we can get started. Now, before I get started, I got to give a shout out to my trusted because you guys rock. To my crazy fam, I love you guys. And to my patrons, thank you for your continued support. Now, we're up to episode number 45, and we left off with, if I can get it right, there we go. We left off with the parent actuator, and yeah, so that was the one. So come on over here to the actuator, add actuator bar, and you scroll down here and you will find parent. Now, parent's a little bit different, so we're going to go ahead and continue reading on. All right, we are on page 46, just in case you're falling a little bit behind and you know where we were at. We're on page number 46, so let's get started. Dynamically setting the parent of your objects allows you to make small components behave as a unity. Think of a Rubik's Cube game as a good example of this. Every time you rotate a face of the cube, the small pieces will be linked to a different rotational axis. So each time you turn it, okay? In terms of implementation, you will reset the parent parent relation of the individual pieces on every rotation. Now, thanks to the parent actuator, you only have to worry about the face's movement as a whole instead of the pieces individually. So, right here, you would actually set yourself up your object, which would be our cube, okay? But it could be anything. It could be a plane. It could be a lamp. Even a camera. But if you set it to cube, for example, you'll be able to it'll be invisible. You take that off and be able to see it in game, I guess. I'm going to go a little bit further into that, okay? All right, so if the parent object shape is a compound or a set in the physics panel, okay, so if you come over here to the physics panel and it is a compound, I don't see what I understand what that means, but okay, you can merge the shapes with the compound option, okay? So I guess it's with this, okay? So the parent shape is already compound. I don't understand that. That's something I'm gonna have to look into. We'll look into that on the next time around. But for now, we'll continue on. From an opposing standpoint, when you don't want your object to interfere with your parent physics geometry, you can check the ghost option to make it behave as such. So as a ghost, it won't interfere with other physics geometry in your game. Okay? If you go with physics, don't parent it. Some of the physics interactions, such as rigid body, will behave erratically or not work at all when your object is parented. So you don't really want to parent it if you're going to be using your physics. Okay, you know, if you don't want it to affect the physics object, but you want to be able to use that physics object, then you click ghost. Okay. On to the next one. We got the property sensor. That's this little guy right here. Okay. There are a few ways of changing your game properties. You can change them through a Python script, which is here on the controllers, which we have talked about before. Okay. A logging option from a logic brick, for example, a keyboard sensor, or a keyboard sensor, which we've talked about in the beginning of this chapter. Okay. Or by using the property actuator, which is this little guy right here. Let's take a look at the valuable options. Okay, the add, that's this one right here. Okay, increments, increments or decrements of numbers can be done with this option. Remember to use the minus sign to decrease a number. Although when adding a number to a string property, that number will be getting added to the text, regardless of its signal. Okay? So, when you have a property, say, we don't have one set, bring the in menu up here. We're gonna make a game property and call it life. Okay, and take it off float. That's integer, and when life hits 0. Okay, that'll be a good one to have. Okay, so we had the property life. Now we can add a value. Okay, so let's say we'll add 1. Okay, so every time you hit the keyboard, got that Patron controller. I've been having problems with this. I don't know what they've done with that, because you used to be able to easily hook it up, but with 0.2.0 they're just having an issue with it because nobody knows how to make it to where they just connect. You know, somehow this connection has to have an and. It won't put the and in for you like it used to. Okay, the assign. Okay, so if you assign something, okay, so you assign life, this option allows you to specify a new value for your property or to copy it from another property of the same object. When your property is a string, you can enclose the new value in a single or double quotes. So, single quotes are these guys right here. Okay? Single quote, and then you've got double quotes. We'll go ahead and just do it the correct way and just redo the whole thing. And that's just regular quotes. Okay? So you can do them with that when you have it as an assign. Okay? The next one, okay, is copy. We'll do copy. To copy a property from a different object, see the note that follows on different data type conversions. Okay, so that's be mixing types. We'll do that here in just a minute. Okay, toggle. When the property is a boolean, okay, so if we do this and make, I'm trying to mess things up today. We make this a boolean instead. Okay, it means it's either positive or negative, or positive, true or false. Positive or negative, same thing. Then it will. It's toggle. Go to toggle now. There we go. Okay, so it will toggle the life property from whether it's true to false. So if it's true, it'll turn it to false. If it's false, it'll turn it to true. Okay, and vice versa. So if you hit the space key, you know, then it'll keep doing that. Okay, so all right, so mixing types, that was mentioned just a little bit above. There's a C note that follows on the different data type conversions. Okay, when your properties are of different types, Blender will try to accommodate them. Try to accommodate them. Booleans are converted to 0 or 1 when assigned to numbers, and floats are always rounded down. Okay, so booleans are either converted to a 0 or a 1, okay, when assigned to numbers. And floats are always rounded down. So in other words, if it's, 1.3, it's going to be rounded down to 1.0. Even if it's 1.9, it's going to be rounded down to 1.0. Okay, so basically rounded down to a whole number. Okay, remember expressions. Instead of direct values, you can use an expression in the value field for the property actuator. Take a look at the expressions controller for more details. Okay, we went on. That was actually a little bit further back, I believe. We went into that as well because it was in the controller. You can actually use an expression and use that, but you can also use that also in here as a value. Okay, now for the random actuator. Random actuator. So let's come on down here to random. Okay, now controlled randomness is one of the keys for a decent AI, artificial intelligence, as you can see right here. Okay, the random actuator has 10 options to generate pseudo random numbers. Okay, So the actuator is this right here, 0, 1 through 10. Okay, actually it's 0, 1 through 9 because the 0 is counted as a 0. Okay, they are divided by types: Boolean, integer. Okay, that's right here. Boolean, okay, integer, float, and floats. Right? Did I get it right? Yeah, Boolean, integer, and float. And they use a seed for consistent results over time. Okay, that's this one right here. That's a seed. A seed allows an algorithm to generate the same random numbers every time you start the interaction. Okay, so if we put it in seed as 1984, somebody like that number. Okay, so if you have it on seed 1984, okay, and you have it as integer uniform, and you have a, well, we got life, okay, and it'll be minimum of 8 and a maximum of 11. Okay, so the lower your life would dance between either 8 or 11. Okay, so if let's change this up. Let's just go ahead and make this money. So you're playing a gambling game, okay, and you want to give a random chance to the player. So between 8 and 11 is what they'll, roll on the dice, okay? Or that's the number that they'll come up with for money-wise. That's how much you'll get. You get between 8 and 11 coins, okay, when they roll it. But it could be used as dice, too. You got 6 sides to a dice, so you can have, minimum is 1, maximum is 6. And every time they roll that, it would come up as a random number. And it would pseudo-randomize it, as they say. Okay, the generated number is stored in a game property indicated in the properties field. That would be your money. So that way, every time, I don't know why I keep trying to grab that out like that, but every time you hit the space bar to roll the dice, it's going to put that there. And I actually have to turn that to integer. Okay, so it's going to put that number right there, and so it will show you that number each time you roll the dice. It will throw a number, and that number would be a random number between a certain batch of numbers. Booleans are converted to 1 or 0 when assigned to a numerical property, and a true or false text when assigned to a string property. So if I left this at a Boolean, okay, it would either do true or false. Okay, it would be, if it was a money, or if it was an integer type, then it will put true as 1 and false as 0. Okay, a little bit of a little trick to electronics is you're always dealing in ones and zeros. You're always dealing with true and false. Let's see here. Integers or floats are converted to false when they are 0 and are assigned a Boolean property. They are converted to true otherwise. Okay. Now, a lot of people sit there and say, well, you can't do, I can't do sound in my game. Well, yes, you can. Right here. All you have to do is open this up and you create a sensor, okay? A lot of people like to use the always sensor. You can also use a delay sensor. You can use a, where is it at? A near sensor, okay? Well, let's just try the near sensor, okay? And you would put your property in here, and you would hook this up along with the and. And there we go. Okay. Connect you up. I never had this problem until I started using 0.2.5. So 0.2.0 didn't have that problem. But when you do this and you have a property set up as, a door, and when you open a door, it will play a door sound. That's it. That's all you need. You need background music, then all you have to do is put in an always sensor. Okay? Set it to true level triggering, and it will play that every single time you start the game up. Okay? Sound is very easy to work with in Blender and in UPBGE. It's very simple as long as, if you use logic bricks. It's actually even more simple if you know Python coding. If you don't, then, this would be the easier way for you to do Okay? So, soundtracks and sound effects. The possibilities are endless and definitely a key aspect of your game. You will use this sound actuator when you play a click sound for the UI. You will also use it to announce steps from surrounding enemies. In fact, the opening music, the main track, and the credit sound are all musical or music, and music. Musical, music, and music. You may love music, but if they all play together at the same time, you get a I can't even pronounce that cacophonic experience of an indie garage band. On the other hand, to sync the events of your game with its sound, you can use these options: play, volume, pitch, and 3D sound. Okay, so I've only got this one for sound. It's completely different than what it used to be, but you have to actually pick one. So I'm going to go and try to find one. I don't even know if I got anything. I have to go to my drive. I could do my desktop. So I have. Trying to figure it out, y'all. Well, anywho, you have to have that in here, and I'll switch over here for this one because it'd be better off. Okay, so you put your MP3 in that you want, okay, and then you can either loop stop or there's a couple other options you can use. You can change the volume, you can change the pitch, you can add different gains and stuff to it. A lot of stuff you can use, and it goes into a lot, but that's all it just shows because it's very simple. Okay, you add your you add your sound in, and then you get then you get these options, and you can do different play modes. You can about the same things you can do with the action thing. It's the same thing as running an animation, but using sound. Okay, and let's see. Oh yeah, we're almost up to 20 minutes. Okay, spatial 3D sound. If the sound has only a single channel, you can use it as a 3D sound source. That means the sound will be played using your game object position as reference. It gets louder the closer it gets to the camera, and lower when it is farther away. The 3D options cover the distance range of the volume influence of your sound, the audio cone extension, and its angles. Okay, so that's all this stuff right here. If you don't have this checked, all these will be grayed out, I think. But you can actually use distance. You ever go into a game and you're playing a game, and you get closer and you hear the engine, and you get closer to it. Well, that's the whole thing. This is how you would do it. It would actually make this work. Okay. So I'm gonna leave it there because, like I said, we're almost 20 minutes in. We're about 18 minutes in, almost 19. So we're gonna leave off with the state machine, okay? And we will do that next week. Let me go ahead and close out of all these guys because we need it. And switch back over to. There we go. We'll switch back over to here, and we'll go ahead and end it there. State machine, page number 49 for next week. We'll work on it then, and it'll be after the new year, so I will see y'all here.